Jaguar XJ220 is a supercar of the British car brand Jaguar, which itself at the time was owned by the American Ford Motor Company. Of the exclusive car, developed from the racing prototypes of the brand, 275 units were built from 1992 to 1994. Origin. Around Jaguar's chief engineer Jim Randall, the Saturday Club was formed shortly after Jaguar's privatization, a loosely organized group of company employees who met after work to create a Jaguar equal to the Ferrari F40 and Porsche 959. They used the design of the XJR9, which Tom Walkinshaw Racing had created for the World Sports Car Championship and which had won the 1988 Le Mans 24 Hours. It was to be the fastest road legal vehicle. The target was 220 miles per hour, 354 kilometers per hour, which explained the numbers in the name, as it had many times in the history of Jaguar sports cars. The project found support in the executive suite, and a first prototype was designed for the 1988 British Motor Show. The engine was taken from Tom Walkinshaw Racing, a 6.2-liter V12. The four-wheel drive system was commissioned from FF Developments. This company had already helped the Jensen FF achieve four-wheel drive. Its owner Tony Rolt had had a glorious time with Jaguar racing cars in the 1950s. In 1989, the car was officially announced, and despite a retail price of £413,000, buyers were found willing to put down £50,000 immediately. Jaguar stated that only 350 would be built and subsequently received 1,500 orders in a matter of days. The project was handed over to Jaguar Sport, a joint venture formed by Jaguar and TWR, Tom Walkinshaw Racing, where a small series of the XJ220 was to be developed. Jaguar Sport completely redesigned the car, shortened the chassis, removed the four-wheel drive and replaced the V12 with a TWR twin-turbo 3.5-liter racing V6 engine, this V6 being based on that of the MG Metro 6R4 used in Group B rallying. The XJ220 V6 ended up being significantly shorter and lighter than the original XJ220, but otherwise retained the basic design. The two-seater body was richly equipped, including air conditioning. The car weighed 1,470 kg. However, due to the massive changes and the now burst speculative bubble in the car market, quite a few customers backed out of the purchase, even foregoing their down payment. In 1990–1991, a new factory building was constructed in Bloxham near Banbury, and 7 prototypes were produced during the development phase. The first examples were to be delivered in the spring of 1992, and production was to be completed in 1994. The production of the bodies was taken over by the British specialist company Abbey Panels. The first deliveries took place in July 1992. Among the first customers were the musician Elton John and the Sultan Hassan Al Bolkiah of Brunei, known as a car collector. In test drives, Andy Wallace achieved a top speed of 212.3 miles per hour, 341.6 kilometers per hour, at the Firestone test track at Fort Stockton in Texas in 1991, and in later tests in 1992 on the high-speed track at Nardo, southern Italy. Another pre-production model with the catalytic converter removed and the reverend limiter raised exceeded the previous top speed of 217.1 miles per hour, 349.4 kilometers per hour, coming close to the 220 miles per hour targeted. To boost sales, 3 XJ220s competed in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1993. One of the cars won in its class, but all 3 were subsequently disqualified for driving without the now mandatory catalytic converter, as were other competitors, but they were not bothered about it. In addition to the standard version, there were also some special variants of the XJ220. For example, the Sultan of Brunei had his Jaguar redesigned by Pininfarina, including the front with different headlights. Technically, everything remained the same, which is more than can be said for the road-going racing version called the XJ220S. The engine was modified to produce just over 500 kilowatts, 680 horsepower. Furthermore, the weight was reduced to 1,050 kilograms, which corresponds to a power-to-weight ratio of 1.54 kilogram per horsepower. This should be good for a sprint from 0 to 100 km per hour in 3.3 seconds and about 370 km per hour top speed, according to TWR, the company that made the modifications. Included, of course, in the 5 or so examples produced were measures to improve aerodynamics, such as fixed headlights and different front and rear aprons, including a large rear wing. In September 2016, Bridgestone announced that it was developing new tires for the XJ220, as the original tire size was no longer available.